This is the Silt versus Drowned Revelations Part 9 already, and we are continuing with an assignment called the Distortion Punks, where our custodians have visited a strange campground where some wild concerts happen. There is kind of a faith supremacist group called the Axles of the Leaves at Dawn, and there's been sort of a clash between them and this punk band who, funny story, I was just assuming it was called False Fuck because it's F with stars in it, and Mike Martins, who wrote it, was like, how are you pronouncing it? And I guess he was thinking it could also have been False Flack. I think it's funny this way, so that's what we're rolling with. It's a play on false faith, maybe, or yeah. But the custodians have been sent in to kind of determine what happened here, who's kind of in the right. This organization is, from what you hear, has imprisoned the band. They're also a producer of a drug called Laminar, which is very important to the Peninsulan government because it pacifies sacrifices. So a lot of kind of conflicts of interest going on. And I think the group has found a good handful of clues, actually, because you're all there. So you have actually found 6 clues on this one. The opportunities available to you here are basically siding with the Axles of the Leaves at Dawn, the ALD, kind of clearing them of government attention, and you take something called the turned cheek. Like you basically take some sort of move or consequence, or you're looking the other way, and you benefit. Or you can side with this group, this band, and find out why Distortion's prince, whatever that means, is in the right. Find out what really happened, free the band. Or if you go for a little bit further complexity, you can resolve the assignment by destroying this tree, which we've seen called Old Knotty, as in Knotty, and chasing out the Axles of the Leaves at Dawn. That gives you a move called the Great Relinquisher, which I've just hinted at. Gives you bonuses for killing gods and resolving assignments that way. I don't entirely remember where each custodian has got to, but briefly, I know that Bastion had allowed himself to kind of go on a little walk with some pretty sketchy characters. Saw their cool sacrificial tree out in the woods. I know Dr. Quick and Zeph, I believe, saw the concert hall where there was blood on the stage being cleaned up. There was broken equipment. There was a lot of sort of foreshadowing of how the band who played here last night wouldn't be playing here anymore, and they were taken care of, and it was fine. And during this, Merriweather was hanging out with Lucas, who our custodians have adopted, and maybe we're starting to realize is a little dangerous for a child to be coming on assignments with you, but kind of doing some investigation by hanging out with Lucas. And I want to come back to that as well, because I owe Merriweather a clue on that. So any other things I forgot to recap there, or conditions, or anything you want to just point out to the group?
Dr. Quick actually knew, or
Oh
Dr.
yeah,
Quick's
yeah,
brother knew
Yeah.
one of those cats, and we swooped in a little bit to make sure Bastion did not get super murdered.
right.
So I think now we're all hanging out with the sketchy folks, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good time. That's right. That was the Poxmartyr's one of the moves or abilities.
Mhm.
And that character was it Howard Baines? Was it Twiggy, the one-armed
It was
hulking
indeed.
soldier guy? Yeah, cool.
And I don't know who Merriweather ran into, but they seemed kind of important and maybe a cop. Um,
Yeah,
An
basically a cop.
investigator of some kind, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, who said, if there was a crime to solve, I'd investigate it, and I'm not investigating anything. So there's nothing to see here, move on, kind of phrasing from her. But you kind of, I forget how, but that's right, you were posing as a different character. You were using some of your abilities. Um, yeah. to kind of brush that situation off. And you showed Lucas how to pickpocket, and that's where we're going to get a clue of the complication from. Why don't I start there, actually? So at some point, Lucas will reveal to you, Merriweather, that I have to edit this clue a little bit from how it's written, but it is a notebook with handwritten documentation of your other investigations and assignments. And it seems that this detective, whose name is Simone Fries, has maybe her or someone else has been following your movements. Let me just paste their name there. A second here. That's the detective. Sorry, I phrased that wrong because I'm repurposing a thing. The clue for this assignment is this, it's her field notebook of documentation about this camp, but the complication is that there are also notes about your other assignments. And that's kind of a conspiracy clue, if that makes sense. Okay.
Sorry, to clarify, does this one clue count as both a clue for distortion punks and a conspiracy clue, or
that's what I'm doing? Yeah, as the
Okay, cool.
complication. Yeah. So we can cut forward a little bit. We can pick up right where we were with your characters. I just want to know what's interesting to your characters, and there is going to be another assignment introduced. Maybe once we kind of figure out where you are, I will explain how you learn about that.
I think it depends on where those lovely people were generally like going with us, like where were we going, or if we were going anywhere in particular. Since we're like at least three of us are in a group, and how close Merriweather is to all of this. I'm not sure how close her and Lucas are.
I mean, I think they're not much of a walk. To recap with the camp, there is, let's see, there's Old Noddy's kind of further out in the woods where you all have walked to. There's the camp itself. So there's kind of like different log cabins, and it's sort of been either repurposed or abandoned. There is this sort of great hall. There's various, like, there's a tool shed. There's, vehicles here and there. There's the office. There's like a couple buildings, like camp office buildings. But we could say that it's a short walk over to where Merriweather is.
What are you two? What are you two cats doing while we're doing this?
I think Dr. Quick is maybe just thinking things over. So this is a really precarious situation. These guys are very tough and very violent. I think we learnt from the gentleman on the stage, or at least it was strongly inferred, that Volkswagen are being kept in the tool shed. I do believe we have an obligation to rescue them if we can. However, how we go about that without all being horribly murdered, decapitated, our tongues stuck on trees, etc.
That's right. We did see that.
Is a tough one. We also haven't seen Peyton Ashley yet, the leader of these people. So the question is, I suppose, do we attempt to just get the band members out, or do we go see Miss Ashley and see what she has to say about this little setup here?
I mean, you know how Zeph likes to handle things. So we're not just going to walk away with the band. Certainly not. They won't just let us, I don't think. So I'm very interested in sort of figuring out what they want, but also I have other things I'm thinking Zeph is thinking about doing that are maybe not a part of the assignment.
Oh, yeah. Which, as a reminder, because I always forget, you can change those end of session questions. That is one of them if you want to try to undermine your orders, which are pretty vague. They're pretty much, as always with these assignments, make this problem not a problem for us anymore. Don't make us look bad. Well, I will think about that for a second. I will tie in this next assignment. I think I'm just using Lucas as a narrative device or whatever here, where I think last session, I believe Merriweather talked about, was there a flyer or something?
Yeah, like
Something,
some kind
okay.
of flyer advertising a circus or something
Oh,
like that.
see, I already, okay, perfect. I already said that. I think maybe at some point Lucas is like looking at this and it's like, there's not really anything happening here. Maybe could we, says it's just like nearby. Could we check out the circus when you're done, whatever is happening here? And you see like, I think maybe stapled to it or tacked on somehow. There's like a second, looks like a handmade flyer, and it's just a missing persons poster. And it's from it's signed at the bottom, Mr. Ackerman, and I will paste that. And it says, that it basically describes this child named Joy who has run away to a circus, and warns of any other residents in the area. If you or get invitations to the circus, if just be on the lookout for anyone trying to lure away other young folks to this sort of frivolous activity. It's kind of, you get the tone that it's basically saying it's drawing young people away from their duties and from families and from tradition, and it's bad news all around. And specifically, Joy has run away, and so it's a missing persons poster. I can kind of veer into specifically introducing the assignment from there, but that's kind of how you come across it. So I have to read you an introduction. Too many young folk have gone missing. Chores are going undone, hymns unsung. Something has been luring them away without violence. A wind that carries scents of peanuts and popcorn, dung and sawdust, snatches of music, and a giant illuminated upright wheel in a remote and unlikely place, lights dancing up and down its spokes. Witnesses report seeing a circus parade in motion, avoiding roads, crossing rough terrain instead, staying out of sight of civilized folks until night falls. As you saw in this poster, a farmer named Ackerman lost a few precious days of farm work looking for his wayward child, Joy. He finally found, I will leave it there. I'm improvising a bit, so I'm not going to say more, except that Joy has run away to the circus. And your first question and opportunity here, if you decide to look into this, is where is the circus located? So that's kind of half out of character. We know that's a thing to investigate. It's not necessarily clear why yet, but something's going on there. Do all of you meet up at or meet up with Merriweather to sort of confer a little bit?
I think as long as these dudes won't follow us, I think that's the only real concern Zeph has about heading back to the van is these people. Like if we can lose them casually, yes.
I think for sure, based on Dr. Quick's interaction, because that thing is kind of the situation calmed down. Twiggy recognized you from back in the day. You saved his life. I mean, it's more like the vibe is like, we'll come around later. We had a boss has some chores for us to do around the camp here. Got to maintain a couple of things. Got to, how it goes. Got to clean some things up. But it's been really good to run into you. Do they call you anything? Does he call you anything different, John?
He he doesn't even call Dr. Quick his brother's name because it's respectful, right? So Dr. Quick, it's just
yeah,
appropriate across both people.
Yeah.
And as soon as they're out of earshot, Zeph turns to the both of them, mostly Bastion. What were you doing?
Well, I was trying to score some laminar, but
like you do, yes.
Exactly. And they they obviously took me off here. I wasn't quite sure where we were going, but that turned out to be quite useful.
Yes, Dr. Quick, you really know everyone, don't you?
Well, you know, when one is in the service industry.
I think we all are. I'm gonna go make sure Merriweather and Lucas haven't also been almost kidnapped by strangers. So I think she's competent, but there is Lucas, I need to. You're welcome to come with me or keep talking to these people if you'd like.
What do you think, Bastion?
Well, I was going to carry on seeing what I could find out here, but I can come back if you think you'll need me.
Why don't we, why don't we regroup by the van, discuss our plan and how exactly we want to approach this? Because I think if one of us is left behind, they'll certainly be in extreme danger.
Agreed. I'm not sure your goodwill will last for all of us. I think you'd probably be fine, but let's not chance it. I don't want you nailed to a tree. So we're gonna scuttle back over to the van.
Sounds good. Yeah. Lucas sees you all approaching and is just like, so can we go and I think hold up the flyer and it's like, this isn't much of a camp here. And what about this would be cool, right? We could go to the circus. Start showing you this like flyer of like a wheel, Ferris wheel and
it's a wonderful idea, Lucas. I mean, a circus, a nice safe place where Lucas can, be taken care of or away from any of this danger. If any of us are willing to do a bit of babysitting duties, go and have some fun, eat some candy floss, that might be quite a nice change of pace.
Merriweather is like shaking her head this whole time, kind of leaning against the van. It's not safe. Like she's trying to gesture behind Lucas's back.
She's doing this the entire time.
Lucas says that it's only at night though, and that's kind of weird. It says you have you just have to find it. You have to look for the lights.
Oh,
that would be a fun adventure, right?
That certainly sounds interesting. I'd definitely be up for helping see if we can track down where that is. Though he's going to look back. I did feel like I was getting somewhere here, so maybe I should stick around here a bit longer. And I suppose if we don't know exactly where it is, we can always meet up. We can spread out and search more widely.
I think it depends on what we're doing here tonight.
I mean, how's it going for you guys here? You all have your heads on your shoulders, so I assume okay.
Barely. These I don't care for these people, but that's just me. So he gestures to you two like, what do you think? I find them very, very disrespectful.
Regardless of personal taste, it does appear that there are civilians being held here. They have killed one government employee already, and they are clearly counting on being able to act with impunity. I would not feel comfortable leaving these people intact, and Zeph, it sounds like you feel the same way.
Oh, very much.
Oh, one more thing before I forget. Maybe a problem for later, but Merriweather like reaches into her bag and pulls out the field notebook with all the documentation, and hands it to Dr. Quick. I think we're being followed.
So we are. So it appears that the supremacists of Camp Hightop have a pet cop.
Oh, fabulous. So you think they've... Go ahead, Bastion.
No, so I guess we can't count on any backup in whatever we do here.
Unfortunately not. Are you sure? Are you saying these people knew we were coming like how long have we been being followed, do you think?
How far back do the notes go, Gabriel?
The notes, so let's see. I think looking at it, you can see there's like different handwriting, so it's unclear if this one detective, if it's all her notes, or she's kind of come across it and is then taking it up. So I think the handwriting changes, but it goes back. It's going back into Weft. It's talking about the warehouse near Hungering Roots. It's pretty much going back to the river with young jolly junk, and it's mentioning the ghost, the not ghost, the living polymer, the saint of living polymer. So it's pretty much tracking your assignments from a fair ways back, maybe after the floating market.
Oh no.
I think this is bigger than Camp High Tech.
Would appear so.
Remember that Bastion?
No, all I was going to say is maybe this is an opportunity to send a message then.
A smirk on Merriweather's face. What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't think these people are exactly going to stand by and let us walk out of here with the band, are they?
I like where you're going with that. I do think it would be maybe in our best interest to not split up while we're being followed by what appears to be extrajudicial. I don't know what these people are, but they're certainly not official.
Very well. I think we're in agreement. The fun and games of the circus can wait. Let's take down the ALD tonight.
Maybe if we're fast enough, we can get it in both.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I mean, you're 6 clues in. You technically could try one of these approaches, but it it sounds like there's a few other leads you wanted to explore. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, actually, what I want to do is go back to where all of that equipment was. And explaining, like, this is more for the Saint Electric than for the whole thing. This is, I want to essentially to spit in the face of the faith supremacists. I want to make this a shrine to her, and maybe a very dangerous one. So
That's
and
fun.
maybe find a clue on the way, but I very much want to fuck up their shit.
Sounds fun.
Maybe help us all out. Of course, I leave this to the table.
I think that sounds absolutely awesome.
So I mean, it's a couple ways you could approach that, right? That could just be a thing you do to kind of cause some chaos, to set up other custodians. It could be a way to see how they react here and get some more information. That could also be part of your solution.
Yes.
Depending on what that means.
Exactly. That's the timing will change.
So we do have make a shrine to the Saint Electric, some other kind of bomb, it sounds like. Potentially. Any other
very big distraction?
Yeah, big distraction. Any other like directions on the table, other custodians who want to pursue?
I'd definitely be keen to maybe use the influence of Twiggy to get an audience with Peyton Ashley, because I think it'd be good for us to get to see I guess who's someone who's going to be the big bad of this assignment, and that might be an opportunity to pick up another clue that will help us resolve it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no, that I was thinking similar of making an approach on the leader and seeing what we can shake loose.
Sounds good. Does that mean yeah, go ahead, Elle.
Well, I'm not quite sure what I want to do. Uh, do we know where the band is being held? No, right?
We think it's in the tool shed, right? That was where it was really implied.
Heavily foreshadowed. Yeah, yeah.
I might like sneak around the tool shed.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Do it.
And what are you all having Lucas do? Or
That's such a good
what's your
question.
solution there?
Merriweather, you were shaking your head. Was he a handful? You don't want to have him around you, right?
Um, uh, no, he was great actually. He learned how to pickpocket. He's like a really quick study.
Oh,
But
fabulous.
um,
It's like I could do a stealth mission too, and he's like again an enthusiastic kid.
He was very good at sneaking around on rooftops back when we met him. So Merriweather, if he wouldn't be averse, he could be quite useful to you in doing a bit of stuff.
And I don't mind coming with you so you don't have to be the only eyes.
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
let's well, takes a village to raise a kid, right? So probably takes two people to teach a kid how to sneak around a fascist camp.
Exactly. And I do, before we leave, I turn to Lucas and I get down a little bit. And if anything goes wrong back there when we're sneaking around, you run. You don't stay around. You don't try to help us. You run. All
And
right?
you don't run to the circus.
Oh, God, no. And you don't know us. All right?
It's like thinking about it. It's like, okay. I think there's been a little bit of like somber talks, I think, here last session. So I think he's starting to kind of realize some of that a little bit. Cool as it is to learn how to make bombs and all this stuff. Yeah.
There are fascists trying to kill us.
Yeah, he's pocketed that that flyer to the circus or whatever.
Oh, bless.
So I mean, it even says like children don't go to the circus, right? Like it's come on. Yeah, let's start because we haven't seen the hall. Let's maybe pick up there with Dr. Quick and Bastion. I think it's pretty easy to kind of catch up or find Twiggy and his other friend. I think they're like probably hauling trash or something. Just doing camp chores near I think on the side of that great hall. And yeah, if you approach them and want to ask other questions, you're welcome.
Yeah, I think Bastion is just going to kind of um, walk up and just say, so thanks again for showing me around earlier. I assume the boss is in there.
Yeah, Sashley's there, and if you doctor, if it's not too much trouble while you're here, we do have one of our guys should probably had some. We tried to bandage something up, but it'd be. I could put in a good word. Have you take a look? We could really use your skills around here if you needed a place to stay for a few days, or he's kind of. I think he'll seeing you come back already. He's remembered this, and I think is gonna gladly introduce you if you want to.
You mean some of your people have injuries?
Yeah. Well, you kind of saw it's kind of pointing at this like broken glass in places like the parties get a little out of hand here sometimes, and Vince thought we had enough of a crowd to try stage diving. Some of these younger members just don't have enough sense, and I think he'll be okay, but having a doctor here would really be a help to us.
I would be honored to offer my services to Miss Ashley. I understand she may be a little bit difficult to deal with, though. So, Twiggy, if I should make a bad impression, or if me and my friend should not be winning her trust, hopefully you'll put in a good word for us.
Oh no, of course. We go way back. I'm just and kind of is telling this. I think you see a different soldier now. Is like this doctor here kind of like tells the story again about his arm. It's like I would have bled out right there. And I think he gets serious for a moment. And he's like, we do have rules here. Miss Ashley expects rules to be followed, but I'm sure you understand. Yeah. Anyway, it's no big deal, and come on in, and he'll kind of like throw another bag or two onto this truck, and then kind of head towards the office. This is he goes inside, maybe knocks. Soldier kind of like opens the door for you. When he says, I'm just gonna sort of fast track. He says like, oh, he's a doctor here, and we could talk to Miss Ashley. You could take a look at Vince, and they pretty quickly will let you in. In the office, there is a hulking desk of carved mahogany. It's pretty much splitting this space in half. There are metal stacking chairs on one side. There's creaking old executive's chair on the other side with this kind of, it looks like they've salvaged some pieces maybe from other parts of the camp or just brought in. There's a kind of a huge old like natural landscape painting that's over the desk with a big frame. There's thick curtains over the windows, so it's mostly dim. There's some shafts of light and dust in this room, and on either side of the desk, almost like this, almost like it's imitating some kind of presidential office, there is a flagpole of, I'm just going to say, the Peninsulan flag, and there's another one that's unfamiliar. No one's sitting in the desk at the moment. The soldier who brought you in just says like, Miss Ashley should be coming back in just a minute. I'll let her know. Doctor, we'll paint the scene for everyone really quick though. What in the office reminds you, or I guess gives you a clue here, that Peyton Ashley is ruthless despite her civil demeanor? You haven't met her. I'm kind of doing this out of order, but this is sort of getting an impression of what her character might be like.
I think there's like a letter opener that looks like a knife, and it has been like straight up stabbed into the desk. Maybe a little deeper than you would even expect from a regular person.
I think it's a really minor detail, but there is a little hand mirror on her desk, and it's just been very carefully angled and positioned so that she has, even from her desk, a perfect view of the body of the man that's been left out front, just so she can keep it in her eye line at all times.
Nice.
I think there's one of those, like, back from the time of when it was actually a camp, there's one of those like bulletin board type employee of the month, or or not employee of the month, but like place where you can have like pictures of all the staff, and there are sort of Polaroids of what are obviously members of the ALD here, who are probably a couple of the people we've seen posted up on this board, but there are just like discarded on the floor underneath it, just a couple of Polaroids that just have the big red X through them and have just been left on the floor.
I think that in the trash can next to her desk, we see like remnants of ripped up photographs. And if you look closely, they're clearly like family photos, probably taken from the wallet of that government guy. And there's just like a neat little stack of money on the corner of the desk, probably also taken from his wallet.
Very nice. The guard, I mean, the guard is kind of keeping an eye on you too, or whatever. But you hear some kind of conversation drifting up your way, from maybe outside this small building, and it's just saying, Vin, I made it very clear we were to have shifts continuously. We don't know what we're dealing with here, and it's best that we keep that threat contained. I will not have all of our work undone. And as you know, we have deadlines to meet. We are not just a camp here to throw parties for our friends, although we're here for a bit of that too. But I trust that you can take care of this. I don't want to have this conversation again. And you hear sort of like, yes, Miss Ashley, I'll get the other guys right on it. I'm sorry. It's like, you hear a growl, and you hear the sound of some kind of dog actually padding up. And you see the dogs first entering the office ahead of her, and they kind of come right up to these two, sorry, I scrolled to the wrong spot. These two hounds walk right up to the doctor and Bastion. Wolf hounds. One of them is dragging a wild turkey by its neck along the floor into there, kind of like it was playing with it, drops it, kind of looks up at you, panting, got a bloody maw. And they're just kind of right there up in your space, just sniffing you. And how do you react?
Bastion is going to just hold out his hand for them to sniff.
Nice.
And Dr. Quick, I think, he just retreats back inside himself very slightly. If you didn't know him, you might not notice any change, but what little glimpse of humanity we've seen in his eyes just kind of fade away. He stiffens slightly, playing the perfectly poised surgeon.
I think there's a moment where one of the hounds here, we haven't really talked about it, or maybe the keeper here has forgotten about it, but Dr. Quick does have some weird lingering conditions. Like, I think you have a weird parasite and a weird treatment, and there's something going on. So I think the doctor, the hound is like sniffing you, sniffing your shoulder and your neck, and kind of just that creepy moment of it, like almost laps at your skin and just like kind of like pulls away, like it didn't really like what its senses are giving it. And the other one also leans quite close to Bastion, and then kind of bristles, gives you a strange reaction as well. Like it doesn't really know what to make of you. And then at that moment, Peyton Ashley strolls in. She's dressed like a classic English gamekeeper. There's this twill coat and vest, maroon necktie, hair's in a tight bun, kind of a stern face. She does not smile, but she is courteous. She kind of doesn't seem to react particularly to either of you being there, and just says, so you're a doctor. I hear you can help one of my crew.
I can.
Looking
but
to
first,
either of you. Yeah.
First, I believe proper introductions are in order. My friend and I come to you as negotiators, but also a gift. The government has noticed that their last envoy was not received entirely well. We have a sense that there may be the risk of some miscommunication, Miss Ashley, between your operation and the Peninsulan government, which, as you know, values you very, very much. I am here to put things right. As Twiggy has noted, I am indeed a doctor, renowned for years now in the service of the Peninsula, here to offer my services gratis as your camp surgeon fixer-upper, because I understand you have a great deal of violence here. This is my colleague, Bastion Dyer. I deal with the living and he deals with the dead, and I do believe you have plenty of dead here as well as the living. So we are here as a peace offering to offer our services as they may be needed to your operation. Before we can proceed with that, however, you understand there must be a little quid pro quo and common understanding between yourself and the Peninsulan government. To that end, we understand there has been a great deal of violence and disruption here lately. And before we can proceed with a handshake agreement, I believe we are going to need to understand that the product is safe, that it is being taken care of, and equally that any causes of disturbance, and he kind of just glances with his eyes maybe out in the direction of the tool shed, are also being properly taken care of with as little further bad press as possible.
Kind of like pauses for a moment, like lets you all just kind of have that moment of just guarding you, and says like, well, you do have a bit of a better approach than your last colleague. You sound like you might listen to reason. People here do have a bad reputation. Is that really fair with all of what we're doing? All our these soldiers keeping your world, your system viable with our supply, and yet we're the ones being mercilessly attacked day after day, night after night. And that frustration, they deal with it here. I keep them in line, and sometimes things do get a little bit out of hand, but we do have it contained. And I think she's kind of looking between both of you, and well, you speak some sense, but how do I know that we're not going to end up having to dig a couple more graves, dispose of more bodies? Kind of looks to Bastion, who hasn't spoken, I guess.
Well, I can't say we can promise you that, but we are used to dealing with unusual situations, I suppose you could say. And it sounds like you are having an unusual spate of troubles recently. He's going to again just kind of glance out of the door, out of the window towards where sort of people are, and say, you certainly look well enough prepared to cope with most problems that life could throw at you. So I'm wondering what it is that you can't deal with.
Nice. Let's cut there. I like that moment. I want to catch up to the other two custodians. So Zeph and Merriweather with maybe Lucas, you're kind of giving him some sort of instructions. Let me move to the other location here, give you some more. So I can describe the shed. There are also like patches of woods here and there. So I guess I'm curious about what your approach is. If you are, this is very abstract, I know, but if you're kind of like splitting up, if you are looking for, I know we mentioned Lucas being good at climbing up on top of things. You climb in some trees. You could, yeah. What are you interested in doing here?
What's Merriweather's plan?
I suppose it depends on whether the shed is heavily guarded. Like, do we see that they have a lot of people kind of posted around that area?
Oh, sure. Let me describe it then. Yeah, from a distance, even you can see there is this shed is wood shed with a tin roof. There are piles of tools outside. The door is chained and barricaded shut. There are a couple other things. There are two guards. You actually see one guard was there, and someone else is a couple other coming over. There's a conversation, and now there's two guards posted there. But also, I'll leave it at that for now. Yeah, there's definitely several guards. They look kind of bored. They're just like, okay, we have to stand by this shed now. That's also already chained shut.
Well, I know we're not supposed to have children building bombs, but it seems like we've already maybe violated that precept a little bit.
He's very good at them, by the way. I'm not sure. I know Dr. Quick worries, but it's fine. He's fine.
Well, maybe you and Lucas can have explodey playtime. And
Elaborate.
I could check out the shed and the distraction.
Okay. So are you saying we build a bomb to distract everyone? Or are we blowing something up in particular? Because I don't mind that either. I just need direction here. I don't want to blow you up.
I don't know. What do they care about?
Well, they do like their stage and their equipment and all of the they don't respect it, but they seem to like it and need it. And I
You
mean,
can definitely do like an information move if you're kind of looking for more of a good angle
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
yeah.
Who wants to make the roll? Just because I know I haven't given you a lot of like camp description here.
Do you want to do it?
Sure.
Actually, because Merriweather's been, yeah, maybe has seen things from the other side of the camp a little bit longer. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Sounds like with insight.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is nope, my insight is 1, it's a 9.
Okay, nice. 9. Look at our clues here for a second. You notice there are let's see, I think as you're maybe kind of we'll say you're kind of like looking on the perimeter of some of this camp a little bit, you see partially concealed, not very well, but kind of like they've thrown some fallen branches and tarps. So from the outside, from the road, or coming into this part of the camp, you wouldn't see it, but getting closer, you see there is a pretty tall tank, maybe several tanks that they're holding some kind of liquid.
Oh, that kind of tank.
Yeah.
I got worried for a second.
Oh yeah, no, they're not. I mean, you've seen they are soldiers. You've seen, they're
Yeah.
armed, but it's like guns and stuff. It's not like that. Yeah, it looks, I think, based on the fact that it's like partially concealed, like it seems to be something important. I'm gonna paste that here for you real quick. No, I'm riffing on the clue. I'm sort of rewriting it. That's why it's confusing me. Yeah, it's just a tank that looks important. Tank of some kind of liquid. That yeah, you could tell messing with that. Because you see like various like maybe other like plastic tubing and like other boxes and crates, and like there's something going on here. This is probably something to do with Laminar, or at least part of the process.
Yeah, Merriweather will
Yeah.
point at the tank and go, well, what about that?
That could work. The only other thing I know about is this big tree in the woods, and that's not very central. It's not a very good distraction, so that could work. Lucas, would you like to help me build a shrine to the Saint Electric?
It's like, yeah, does that mean it's going to have some of those neon lights, or like a radio? Could it make some cool music?
It could. It's more like when we celebrate her and we have all of the sparklers and it's like that, but massive and very fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sounds awesome. And then it will kind of like, it's like, I know you've been trying to like not talk about it around me, but I hear you've been talking about bombs. Like, I know. So the sparklers are gonna start the bomb, right? That's where
Oh yes.
this is going. Yeah.
Oh yes.
He's very excited. Yeah.
Listen, last time Last time we built a bomb, he was great. So I think we can really hone in on this one. Or at the very least, you could help me a little bit, help me here, and then be my lookout.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yes.
Is this going to be another like a faith sheet move?
Yeah, probably
Cool.
actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably actually going to be if there's any electrical equipment,
Mhm.
it would
I don't
probably
think
be
we've even
inspired
seen.
circuitry
Yeah.
or I just got Ghost in the Machine, but I'm not sure that would actually do that one. So, probably that or I haven't used Sacred Conduit very much. We
Let's
might
say,
just
yeah.
let's just use Sacred Conduit. I don't think I've used that since the other bomb. So,
That's fun. Yeah. Yeah, so we can describe you're connecting various things. You're doing this whole shrine, and at some point you're going to sort
mhm.
of connect the current.
Yes. And I'll
Let's yeah,
yeah,
think about what that might look
I'll
like.
think about it while Merriweather sneaks around.
Yeah, what's Merriweather up to in the meantime? I guess you see that tank, but then once plans are being laid here, what do you do?
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh,
I, I think Merriweather's gonna sort of um try to skirt around the outside of the camp, like sort of along the line between the camp and the forest, um, and kind of get into position so that whenever the guards are distracted, she can maybe go in and break that lock on the shed door,
oh, cool.
something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Um, let's see. I think we're kind of setting up. We'll go back to the other two for a minute, and then maybe we'll take our first break here before actions start rolling. Um, sorry, David, you had just, or one of you had just asked a question, and then I cut away. Could you remind me? Talking
Yeah,
to Kate Ashley.
um, I think I'd asked her something along the lines of what was it that she couldn't deal with that was going on?
Gotcha. Right. Yeah, that sounds. I mean, you're newcomers. You're here sitting in her office. I think even though she's glad to sort of like see, if this doctor's worth anything. I think that more direct inquiry will be of role. Let's say information move here with presence.
Sure thing. Do I have anything to mark? No, I don't think I've got anything in particular I want to use at this point.
Sounds good.
That is a 7.
Okay, nice. Let's see. Uh, um, oh, I've already given you that clue. I'm really bad at that. I will see a cool clue and like, oh no, yep, okay. Um, okay, here's a question for you though. I'm gonna say that part of my clue here is that she's pretty sharp, and I think she's going to somehow pick on whether it's that you're literally a cairn steward or that you were kind of in that realm of things. Is there any like outward clue or otherwise that you think she might pick up on about Bastion?
So I have taken the hollow gaze move.
Oh, nice.
So I think maybe it's not necessarily an outward sign, as in it's not like the symbol he wears around his neck or anything like that. But I think maybe it's that just she gets that kind of glimpse of death in his eyes that maybe she's familiar with.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think it's that thing where maybe she's used to people kind of flinching at some point and there's just no reaction from you. And I think she pretty quickly kind of gets a measure of you there and is she'll say, let me show you something. And she will kind of like snap at the hounds. One of them was kind of starting to play with that wild turkey and like is hitting it against it's kind of gruesome. Won't go into that, but snaps the dog. The hound drops the turkey and they kind of like come into line and follow her. Occasionally getting uncomfortably close to the two of you, just mainly because of their size. It's a little bit disconcerting. But she will show you, she'll go around the corner. And point towards the shed. And this is the side of the shed that Merriweather and Zeph have not seen. And there are 3 bodies propped up against the outside of the shed. And let's see. You can tell from a glance, these are some of the band members just because of their clothing. I'm going to say they're, there's like leather jackets, kind of torn up jeans, that kind of thing. And she just kind of like points and just says, again, sometimes things get out of hand here. I keep it in line. I have rules, and some folks don't seem to respect that. And again, I'm keeping it contained, but I'm just taking measures to let things settle down a little bit more. This last band tried to invoke something. They thought this would be a fun place to get a little experimental. And tragically, as she points in the other direction, I think on the, I think it's against a tree, maybe a bit more respectfully, one of their own soldiers is laying out, or at least there's like a covered body over there. And you see there are further on, there's someone who's like maybe digging, preparing to at least dispose more respectfully of that body. But she's just kind of gives you a sort of knowing stare. There's not many more words said about it, but just says something tells me this is government employees, right? This is kind of your line of work, isn't it? You can see why I already have this much mess to clean up, which is slowing down our production, our timeline. So
Well,
perhaps you can, yeah.
The good doctor already already explained my area of expertise. So, and then I'll just kind of turn to Dr. Quick and say, if you think you'll be okay with the patients, Dr. Quick, I'll deal with these ones.
Of course. Miss Ashley, just to check before I go and see to your patients, are any of the other band members alive? Is this it? Is the problem dealt with?
Is the problem's dealt with enough for now. And she's going to basically pointedly, Bastion, indicate that the bodies that matter are her own soldiers. She actually is going to dissuade you from even approaching the shed in those bodies. Says we'll deal with them later, but I would appreciate it if you could take care of our lad over there.
Of course.
Yeah, but yeah, she again, they're being kind of cagey, but she's sort of like, that's not your problem.
Very well.
But you can see there's 3 bodies, and there's actually, I will say, it's slightly in the background of this conversation. You're hearing some tapping coming from the direction of the shed, but it's kind of like it's like someone's drumming idly from the inside of the shed. And you hear one of the guards kind of like pound on it, and it's just like, quiet down, Sorry, carry on, John.
Miss Ashley, as my colleague said, perhaps if you'll show me to your wounded, I can get to work on the living, and he can see to burying your poor friend.
Of course, I would appreciate that. Maybe we can have a bit more of a discussion after you've kind of shown your goodwill. It's always appreciated. Again, your other colleague didn't seem to have nearly enough sense to introduce themselves the way that you have. So And she'll kind of direct you towards maybe it's another side office. There's what is functioning as like a I guess their best version of like an infirmary or whatever. And we can pick up those scenes. Maybe we'll take our quick break right here before we make our next actions. Let's take 5. Cool. All right, so we're back. We got a couple actions lined up, and I just want to go around to make sure I'm framing things right, and then we'll pick up. So it sounds like Dr. Quick is going to be stitching up or otherwise healing one of the soldiers here, which could be your Poxmarter move. Or something
I was hoping to get Miss Ashley away from Bastion so that Bastion can investigate the band member body. So when I was saying show me the injured people, that's basically trying to lure her off.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that works. So we'll continue to engage her in that scene. And then Bastion, what about you? You've been pointed towards another body to deal with.
Yes.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, no, and Bastion is going to deal with the body. I think he's going to kind of, get them up into a like a sort of fireman's carry. Not the most dignified, bearing to the grave, but it's what he can manage. And I think, you said there was somebody sort of digging a grave already.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to kind of head over to where they are.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll pick up with assisting them, and then Zeph is let's come back to Zeph. So Merriweather is ready to kind of like, when this distraction that Zeph pulls off, ready to kind of go and try to break into that shed. I think while Merriweather's been kind of watching things, you also would have heard that like rapping from the inside, and you're aware that there's at least someone alive in there, but you don't see the bodies on the other side. But Zeph, let's talk about, we'll pick up with Zeph and whatever this rigged altar shrine is like. What does this look like?
So I think by the van is the first thing we see, is in Zeph talking to Lucas, like, all right, now the first thing you need to do is make sure it looks like an accident. Don't leave evidence, don't leave equipment, and if you can, just try to use what's there. We don't want to, that's number one rule of setting off an explosion that you don't want to get blamed for. All right.
Because what if you just blow it all up though, right? Does that count?
Sometimes, but people look at all of the little rubble. I assure you, they will find it. Trust me, they'll find it. There might be a reason this man's a custodian. It probably was not volunteer. And he's like had like Lucas help him with this sort of little rigged bomb out of the hallowed battery, but to like have a spark, an extra little explosive. But the second question I have is, are those tanks, is there anything mechanical on those tanks?
Sure.
Or are they all just like
yeah, what are you thinking? I think probably on closer inspection, this is totally like the meth lab equivalent, right?
Yes.
So many father-son moments. This incredible.
So touching.
Said the chat.
Thank you, Merriweather. Thank you, Elle.
We can improvise that together. I'm thinking there's probably some kind of I guess digital reader or measurement or some kind of, right? I don't know how this would work, but something that you could like override or use as part of your setup.
Well, because if I can combine moves, the ghost in the machine allows me once per session, when I encounter an object, device, or apparatus that uses electricity, I may tell the keeper an unknown fact about how the saint powers it. When acting on this information, roll with advantage.
Very cool. Yeah, well, let's talk about it. I mean, we can establish more about what that thing actually is to set it up for you, or ask the table for suggestions. I've just implied it's like these big tanks that are look, it's the drug they're making, right? Obviously, it's not just rainwater as you get closer. There's way too many like gadgets and things going on. What kind of mechanical or electric things do we think might be involved that could be taken advantage of here? There might be more processes that, we don't know how they make this.
No idea.
I think that there is a still here, like a big sort of moonshine still with the big long
nice.
arm and like very tightly welded solid metal container.
Nice.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
I'll add for texture that maybe in your sort of if anyone else wants to jump into after me, please do. But I think one thing you would have gotten from your sort of assignment of this assignment is noting that laminar can be administered, as a liquid or inhaled as mist, and its only detectable trait is a sweet and earthy smell like decayed plants. So I think that's maybe when you see this. We'll just say it looks relatively clear liquid, but there's that sense, so you can tell that's what's being made here. Yeah, still you want to hijack? Sounds good.
Yeah, John, were you going to say something? I saw you on mute for a second. Saw you.
It was nothing that exciting.
Oh, listen, I don't know. It might be. Sometimes it is. And so I think when I notice like this has some sort of electrical quality to it, I will actually like hand the hallowed battery to Lucas and be like, all right, now go climb those trees over there and watch for me. And if anything goes bad, if it goes to shit, this is your defense. All right. You have this. You can set it off. Don't set it off like on you. I know you're smart.
Okay.
But if this doesn't work, this is the second plan. This is plan B you're holding. All right.
He's been taking all these plans very seriously. And I think in the time in the van, he points like, I found these gloves in the van. So he like puts these on, like, it's like, so don't touch it. Okay. Right. Is this okay? Yeah.
Yes. So proud of you. So proud of you. All right. Get up there. And the plan is to sneak over to that still. Find that the little prayer mark, the tiny little prayer mark of the battery or whatever that is running this still, chugging it, where the saint is powering it, or one of her children is powering it, and etch into it harder, like re-etch it, and use the sacred conduit to power up through it and make it look like a backfire, like make it look like it was
cool,
like their equipment just fucked up.
Yeah. Maybe it's
because I know everyone's in there. I don't want to like get my friends killed.
Yeah. Because I mean, I don't know how this stuff, but like it's cooking it slowly, right? Like there's some, so maybe it's gonna cause it to like turn way up or steam or
as long as it's loud.
Sweet. Yeah. So that was there another part of your other move? You were just telling me tell me a fact about how the saint powers some of this stuff.
And then if I act on that info, I roll with advantage.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Oh, I see. So the prayer mark, that makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I'll explode it with the sacred conduit.
Yeah. Let's get your die roll and then we'll cut over to another custodian. So this is sacred conduit. It's been a while since we've done that move. What does that have you roll?
So when you channel the divine currents of the Saint Electric, mark a charge box and make your next roll with advantage. If another move already gives you advantage, roll with double advantage.
Okay.
So we're rolling with double advantage to make this thing explode and not get caught. I don't know what am I rolling with here? Like is it communion?
It could be if you're invoking the saint that way. I could also see it being focused because again, you don't want to blow yourself up here, right? You're doing delicate, careful work. Your choice.
I
But
mean, I get a +1
yeah,
on focus, but
there
communion
you go.
feels more correct, and I already have
Okay.
double advantage, so I'm going to actually
4
make it more
dice.
thematically correct.
Yeah, cool. 4 dice, take the 2 highest.
Okay. Math time. All right, that is a 9.
Nice. 9 total, right?
9 total.
Okay. Hey, it could be a lot worse.
It could be way worse.
Um, great. We'll cut back to you. I think, let's see, Dr. Quick, you're talking to Peyton Ashley. And, you know, if your intention is to sort of like keep her more in conversation and give Bastion a little more space to work, you know, she'll point you towards where what supplies they do have are stored, and you know, even though for what it's worth, they are making an effort to like keep their um, sort of first aid kits and medical supplies at least like up off the ground, up on some shelves. Like they're trying to keep things, you know, relatively organized and clean as they can.
Okay, so it's a
Yep.
storage shed, and the wolfhounds are still in here with us.
Yeah, they're kind of trailing her, but yeah. What
Okay.
is there anything else you want to do?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm obviously aware that
Yeah.
at any second my colleagues could set off something very loud.
Yeah.
And if she and her wolfhounds are not taken out of the picture in some way,
Mhm.
then that's going to make things a lot more dangerous for everyone else. So I guess
Mhm.
as we're kind of in this storage shed, I'm going to try and keep her occupied by just Dr. Quick, you know, examines everything very, very calmly, very patiently, taking his time, and then he just goes, "It's actually, do you mind me asking that mark there? Have you had that long?"
Oh, nice. You're gonna see if there's a yeah. Just because you're the pox martyr, I'll let you paint a detail here. What is it? Is it a scar? Is it a what do you
I'm
notice?
imagining it's either a scar or a birthmark, and it's absolutely nothing. But Dr. Quick is going
Oh,
to try
gotcha.
and see if he can bluff
That's
her
fun.
into thinking that she has something that really she doesn't.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think just for, you know, this badass character, there's got to be some cool I think it is a scar, and I'm just gonna say it it's either a birthmark or it's like a lightning scar. You know what I mean? Like, and it's coming up from the collar, just like some branching markings. And yeah, we'll see. You can pay attention again, unlike your other colleague. This is good. Um, I've had this a long time. I think if you want to like get more out of her, we'll make some kind of roll here. But I will say she is kind of like following again. She wants to like get the measure of you and make sure you are actually able to to help her here. But yeah, make this could be an information move. If unless there's some another way you wanted to angle that.
No, let's do information. Great. What do you want
Yeah.
me to roll with?
Probably insight if you're sort of since we've just rolled with it and we've established there is something there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That is a 9.
Nice. I'm just gonna check some of our safety tab and stuff real quick. Obviously, we've already gone to like there's all kinds of weird illegal drugs here and stuff. Okay, nothing. Interest in medical horror. Great. Um, uh, I think you can tell that this scar is it's not actually a lightning scar. It's some sort of reaction. It's taken a weird like it looks like almost plant-like the pattern, almost like I'm just thinking of when vines or ivy like grows on brick or something, and the roots kind of stick to things when they're peeled away. It almost looks like an impression of something that was like growing on there before. Or it feels very organic.
You have a tree god out in the woods, don't you, Miss Ashley? I did see it before.
Oh, so they've great. My soldiers just giving unsolicited tours. I will have to have a word. Yes, we do work with the land here. If if you do know how anything about how product is produced, that is part of the process. It's essential, of course. What is created without sacrifice? And yes, I was one of the pioneers in setting up our operations here. And at one point, we'll just say the land got a little bit hungry, and yeah, kind of like casually, like kind of rubs it like, but it's nothing really.
You do say that, but I'm certain it's a little high on the slide. I'm certain I can see some inflammation around there. Where we are god bitten, often these marks may appear dormant for a long time, but then at a certain point they may erupt and actually cause rather a lot of damage. I completely understand if not, but I would rather like to have a look at this as a doctor.
I think the complication here is she's going to insist that you treat someone else first, and she's going to like be hovering over you to like see if you're legit. Just like, of course, there's steps to these things. I have to observe, and I think she will again take you or it's maybe another room connected to this, and there is a soldier in there's just a couple, it's like camp beds, right? This is all repurposed. And you see there's a soldier who's laying there. He's looks to be asleep, kind of glistening sweat on his brow, maybe a little bit feverish. And you do see similar on his neck, on his arms, at least the flesh you can see has similar scars to what she has, or markings, but much worse, much more like, as opposed to something that's healed, it looks like almost strange, like blackened veins on his skin. He looks in some distress, and says, well, let's see what you can do about this one first, shall we? And if you can help me save our soldier, perhaps we can have more of a discussion, and maybe this could be fruitful for all of us, and I won't have to waste time with so-called delegates and inspectors slowing down our process. Maybe there could be sort of a communication both ways here. And she'll say, any supplies you need, any supplies that aren't in that shed, I can get them for you. And yeah.
That would be most helpful. I could certainly do with a second pair of hands here with me. I am going to ask, however, that your two pooches, delightful as they are, will need to be shut in a side room for hygiene reasons.
She goes, oh, of course. And again, kind of like looks at them, and kind of like kind of just, you can tell she has pretty keen like command over these, and they kind of like she kind of like snaps at them and kind of points, and they turn and just like leave you. And again, she's sort of will be observing, but we'll come back to that, whatever that looks like. Great. That's the complication, really. And the clue, I was improvising that too, but I'm going to say it is sort of, the clue is that old Naughty, has gotten hungry, and has, at least in the past, sort of lashed out and tried to feed on soldiers here. I'll find a way to write that properly. Let's go to Bastion. And you described you were picking up the body and helping to carry it over towards this grave. Sorry, you give me.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm going to head sort of over to where the grave digger is, and gently kind of crouch down and lower the body next to where the grave is. It's thank you for doing this for your friend, but the boss has sent me over here to finish up. You can and he's just going to kind of wave in a general,
Oh yeah, the soldier's gonna kind of give you a look for a second because maybe he hasn't recognized you, but you're obviously just like getting your hands dirty, and he's, oh well, okay. I mean, this should be. You see, it's mostly like an appropriate grave depth. I don't know if that's different for you, but it's been working at it. Says, well, thanks. I'll be around. It kind of points vaguely towards like the middle of camp. You see a little bit of like wood smoke, like maybe there's a campfire in the middle of the day. So like I'm just gonna take my break now, I guess. But if you need anything, let me know. Cheers.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Um,
And he leaves you alone.
yeah, and uh, um, Bastion is going to kind of dig a bit more earth out of the grave, though probably not actually much more, as much for the formality of it as anything else. As you know, in all honesty, he's more used to shallow graves than anything else. But once he's sort of satisfied with the grave itself, he's going to again kind of manhandle as respectfully as possible. But again, there's only one of him, the body down into the grave, and then he's going to kneel over it and say, "So, just what did happen to you last night?"
Oh, so good. That's right. In your move, you can just speak,
Yeah.
right? That's great. Um, yeah, so this would be the information move. I would say, I mean, communion, but again, I feel like your move is already kind of setting that part up, so it could also just be presence. I like the idea of like, because it's already established, you can just do this. I think it's like more about your approach just as a person and like showing compassion and that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll go with presence. That's an 11.
Oh wow, nice. Let's see. I think the body here just kind of sighs for a moment. It's almost like there's a breeze that stirs that kind of like comes from the mouth and kind of swirls around you. There's that little bit of just like stirring of the leaves in the surroundings. And I think the answer you get is it's more in like this waking reverie, this waking dream for a second. You're almost getting a glimpse of the corpse is having trouble physically speaking, I think. So I'm kind of like interpreting that as like it just says so loud, so much anger, nowhere for it to go. And they kept turning it up louder, and thunder, lightning, distortion, and then kind of you hear this crackling and humming um, around you, and the warm breeze. The clue here is warm breeze filled with memories, and memories of deafening noise is what I'm going to say. And I think
Awesome.
as that kind of fades away, there's almost like the scent of like an imminent thunderstorm, and that's the sensation you get.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Bastion is then going to pull himself out of the grave and start filling it back in.
Nice. And I haven't been really keeping track very well if that applies to any of your fate, where you're at with that sort of core move.
I think I'm actually clear on my fate at the minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I think I resolved the last thing I did, but yeah.
Nice. Perfect. Thanks for posting the clues in, everyone. Let's cut over. I think at this point in time, I think let's see, I haven't seen Merriweather in a little bit. You're kind of waiting, watching this get set up. Let's see here. Yeah, I think this is gonna, if all is going to plan with Zeph, it's just gonna go off here. So maybe we'll just like cut to you soon. I just don't want to leave you out for too long. Is there anything else that you want to be doing while you're kind of observing the camp here?
No, I'm totally fine to, see the results of Zeph's roll.
Okay,
and go
sounds
from
good.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, let's cut to that. Yeah. We'll do that roll, then we'll cut to Dr. Quick. Yeah, so it was a 9, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So on what happens with the move on a 9?
So on a 9, let me make my thing a little
Let's go back
bigger.
to that move.
So I get to choose one of these things. Let's see.
Oh, cool. Right.
Yeah. Oh no, that's when the charge track is full. So that's actually just, you get to decide what happens. It's
right,
a 7 to
okay.
9 on whatever I was trying to do.
That's when the charge is full. So you just mark the charge for the, gotcha.
Yes. I got one more before I'm probably gonna die, so we're fine.
Yeah. No, someone else, probably not you. You're discharging it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it maybe describe what this looks for us as these sigils are, sorry, the prayer mark, you've kind of like redrawn it, you've cranked everything up. What does this look like when it goes off from your perspective?
I think from Zeph's perspective, it looks like a prayer to the Saint Electric, very quietly, very quickly. And you see from that lightning scar, which I think almost looks very similar to Miss Ashley's, this god-bitten lightning scar. And you see electricity travel down it to his fingertips, and it pops like a plug that you're unplugging incorrectly, that's a little bit shorted, and then it just heats everything up like as hot as it can get, maybe hotter, and it is just this really loud pop, and Zeph is gone. He's like running. Nice. I think Lucas is maybe in a tree somewhere, was like keeping look out to make sure no one walked up behind him while he was ferreting around under there. And then he is just gone into the woods.
Oh, I know what this complication is, and I'm just gonna remind you, you can always mark verses if you don't like it.
Yeah, yes.
But
tell me the complication.
I think this still is, it's like pretty heavy. It's like a reinforced. It's some kind of heavy, like sturdy metal thing. So it does boil, and the top just kind of pops off. And the rest of you at your different points in camp, probably for Dr. Quick being indoors, it's pretty muffled, but you do kind of hear this like, and Zeph, as you're running and you kind of turn back, you just see this like tower of like steam. And again, we did mention earlier that laminar can be dispersed as a mist. So you have caused a loud noise, but you have also, it just kind of went straight up, and you've created a basically like some kind of opiate cloud that will be descending on the camp here.
You know what?
Before long. You can see what happens, but
let's see what happens. I think it's fine.
That's how I like to play too.
It's fine. We love this. It might make it. Listen, we might have to fight less people.
Yeah. Or it
Since
might
we're
not be a
about to
problem
solve
anymore.
things.
You know,
it might not be our problem very soon.
Love that. I think let's cut to Dr. Quick. And we've established you've given Lucas directions. Although he's in a tree, I don't know. We'll say he was able to hop to another tree and like climb down. Really just briefly on Dr. Quick, because you're with Peyton Ashley, she hears that and kind of like turns and is on the alert. How do you respond?
I think maybe if you're watching Dr. Quick's face, you would catch a flash of a really divided soul for a moment, because while his faith is about helping people unconditionally, no matter what, these people are rotten, and if anyone deserves to be robbed of medical attention, it's them. But he needs to keep Peyton Ashley from investigating that explosion, and so he is going to take a breath, and then he's going to use the move let it pass onto me on the man with this strange old knotty condition. So he is going to attempt to transfer this man's physical condition to himself, which will hopefully be attention grabbing enough to keep Peyton Ashley's focused on him. And he can kind of say, I need you here. Focus, please, to try and keep her in the room and paying attention to what he's doing. So the move is transferring a physical condition from a custodian or a physical ailment from a side character to yourself. Note it as a condition on your sheet, and then roll with vitality. And then it's the old on a hit choose 1, on a 10 plus choose 2. So I would like to mark whatever on earth this old knotty condition is.
Sounds good. It's just a roll with vitality, unless there's anything else you want to incorporate.
I think, given that we've said it's a sort of an earthy, organic issue, he might use the jar of nutrient-rich compost water to attempt to neutralize the toxins.
Oh, nice. That's great. How do you like ingest that yourself? Do you give it to him? How's that involved?
I imagine it might be very much taking it himself as almost if this is something arboreal, almost kind of like trying to get its attention as he chants the ritual to kind of get it attracted towards him.
Awesome. So a roll of vitality at advantage.
Okay. That is a 6, a 6, and a 4, so that is a 12.
Oh wow, full 12. Okay, full success. Be thinking about what that looks like. I want to get to Merriweather because she's been ready to react to this moment for a little bit, and be some kind of bonus on that 12 too. All right, Merriweather, you've been ready. You hear that sound go off. There's kind of a strange, instead of like smoke, which you might think maybe there's a little bit of like slight burning smell, like fuel or something, but it's more of that sweet, strangely earthy smell, kind of pleasant, drifting in the air. But you see the soldiers who are guarding the shed kind of like startle and look, off to the other side of the camp, and they argue for a second, and then it seems that they're more nervous about getting in trouble for not responding to probably an attack than for staying at the shed, and they take off.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I would not want Peyton Ashley to be mad at me. Yeah, I think seeing that Merriweather takes a deep breath, kind of appreciating that earthy scent that is now in the air, and like, what is that? It's a problem for later. And she starts sort of darting out of where she was hiding, like behind a tree, and padding toward the cabin shed. There, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. And I mean, what she's going to do as quickly as she can is to kind of get to the front, maybe use the plastic prop gun that she carries with her as a sort of like lever almost to like break this the lock on the front. And get whoever is in there out.
That's fun. Yeah, I think it sounds like a roll with vitality, just for like running up there, doing this quickly and everything. Is that prop gun, is that an item from your
It's
altar?
an item in my altar, yeah.
Okay, cool. So that gives you advantage, sounds like.
Yeah, let's use that. And you said it's vitality? Cool. That's still 6.
Fair enough. with a 6, you're finding this difficult for a second. Like, I think it's like strangely, you're like, this, I don't remember this being so heavy. This, like, it's not even a real gun you're holding. And like the chains on this, it's just also heavy. And like you're like rally, you try again, and you find yourself just thinking weirdly, like, it'll be fine. You just need to like sit down for a second. You just got to catch your breath. It's been, it's been a long, strange, few days here, probably blurring through all these assignments in our campaign, but you find yourself growing a little bit kind of weary and tired. And I think when as players, we know that something is really hitting you is like you sit down and you just see like we see the body's resting against the shed next to Merriweather. And to you, Merriweather, see, they're taking a break too. They're resting. It's fine. And so it's going to be you basically, I'm saying that the cloud of laminar has kind of blown right over you during this, and that's going to be the miss condition here. Unless you want to mark a verse.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna mark a verse for this.
Yeah, fair enough. Instead, you you are able to open the shed. The complication is I'm sort of keeping that it's gonna be coming a little bit later. It's a bit delayed, just because of this setup here. But you open the shed and you, looking inside, you see 2 other band members, and one of them, they're both kind of crouched, and they look like pretty tired, pretty beaten up. They've had a rough time of it. Clearly, one of them, she's wearing sunglasses, white tank, sleeve of tattoos. That actually also goes up, circling her neck, similar to what we've been seeing. And the other one, you see he's holding some drumsticks. He's like twirling them like kind of anxiously. And he's been the one tapping on the side of the shed. Rolled up sleeves, spattered with blood, mud, and you also get a whiff of that very like kind of sweet smelling compost like smell. And he's kind of very wet and damp, like maybe it's sweat. But he seems very just based on his gaze, very either drugged or just very out of it somehow. And he kind of stumbles. He doesn't fully get to his feet.
Yeah.
But the singer gets up and it's like, finally, we didn't do shit. We played a show. Like, let us out of here already. Like yelling at you as if you're the one keeping her in here.
I fully agree. We don't have a lot of time. Let's get the show on the road.
You'll start to help them. Sounds good. Kind of looks back towards, just like Ed, kind of kicks him. He's like, oh, he's just like very, yeah, I'm here too. Sorry, Shay. I don't know what happened. It's just something. And tries to look up at you, this sympathetic new person, and he is just losing his words. He's like, it was something. It just was like, and he just like spaces out, almost like catatonic, and he's no help.
Merriweather will.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say she'll help him up and like kind of let him lean on her, even though he's probably too heavy for her to support. But she's gonna do whatever it takes to help these people get out of here.
Sounds good. We will cut back to that. Let's see. Bastion, you're kind of, I think you were finishing up, it sounds like this burial or close to it. You heard the sound go off. How do you react? Or, of course you had that memory that
yeah. So I think Bastion is just going to kind of flip the shovel over his shoulder and start walking towards the sound of the explosion, though at that kind of, measured pace, so that he gets to see other people sort of running to it first and get an idea of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're going towards kind of the camp where more people are. Um, this is a sort of delayed effect here. The breeze is kind of blowing and you smell like that wood smoke. Maybe someone has doused a fire really quickly. But also that sweet odor, that kind of compost, that mist. And I think this is going to be a role that's going to be the consequences are kind of rolling towards the other custodians. So I think something hits you, you start to feel a little bit dazed, a little bit tired, a little bit like, why is everyone freaking out? You should just take a rest here. You see like a hammock over there. There's like that scent of wood smoke. You're thinking of like campfires. Like, why is everyone so uptight here? And you're starting to feel those effects. But I want to give you a chance to make a roll. I think with vitality or focus.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like
the veiled
I feel
move
like
here.
vitality is more where Bastion is at with this one. Do I
What could go
have...
wrong here would be, you know, again, kind of what started to happen to Merriweather.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, no, I think I'm just going to roll that as it comes. I think, in all honesty, Bastion is kind of probably inhaling more of the smoke than is technically advisable at this stage, which is, I think, why I'm going for the vitality rather than the focus. I think he's probably not fighting this off maybe as much as he should.
Yeah.
But that is an 8, so yeah, his natural tolerance seems to be providing some aid here.
Yeah. Yeah, so with an 8, it does not affect you as described. I think instead, I'm going to say that it's almost like there's a continuation of that sort of vision, that response from speaking to the other body that you start to perceive in the rest of the landscape in the camp. There's in the same way that the wind was stirring those other fallen leaves, there are a dead branch falls here. There's like other just falling leaves around you. That scent as if there's like, again, as if a thunderstorm is about to hit. And something else that I think we haven't seen here yet. There is I think you actually the other, I will just say this out of character, the other custodians don't see this or perceive this, but you perceive with that scent and that sensory experience of like a thunderstorm coming. You full on see a lightning bolt come down and strike somewhere in the trees nearby, and you hear this fully loud crack. And we don't know if that's purely a hallucination or if it's some other thing that Bastion is able to tap into. But I think I'm going to give you a condition with that. We'll just say Herald of the Storm.
Nice.
For now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Bastion is just going to kind of be kind of nodding and going, cool.
Yeah. Very nice. Dr. Quicks, you rolled a 12. Could you kind of give us the picture of what this looks like as you take this condition fully onto you? You kind of were, but if you want to give us the rest of that scene.
Yeah, so I listed this condition as bad bark skin because I'm imagining very much it's about bits of his skin developing a kind of enty tree-like bark disease, the flesh becoming kind of, gnarled and hardened, browning and toughening as he commits to the Retchman's chant, his eyes wild with light as he attempts to draw the sickness from this man.
Yeah. And per your move, there's another bonus, right? This is you.
Yeah, so the on a 10+, I get to pick 2 of the following: an insight in the form of a clue, an insight about a nearby danger, a gift of healing a side character, And the ritual does not attract unwanted attention. I feel like we're good for clues and dangers. Not attracting unwanted attention is obviously exactly what I'm trying to do. So I think that's an obvious one, that the purpose is to try and keep Peyton Ashley focused on what's happening here. So I might just, can I get a little gift, please? David?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the person on the bed kind of pulls something off of their wrist and hands it over to you. And I think it's like, you know, when you get like when people have like keep all of their like concert bands as like almost like a bracelet, but they're all made out of strips of bark with sort of engravings on them.
Awesome, thank you.
Because it's a 12, I'm just going to, I think, add in conspiracy element here as well. I think you see towards the back of this room, I think there's even like another curtain or partition, and maybe at some point you're just like taking a moment, you're kind of peeking, and there is a covered body on another bed behind a curtain here. And if you glance at it or peek at it a little bit, first of all, it is I think what draws your attention is that it's covered, but you can tell there's almost like a little bit of a gap between the bed that it's on and the body itself. It's almost like very slightly like hovering, like it's become light, and if you nudge it at all, the body is almost like feels like weightless, like starting to float. If you peek at any of the flesh or even the hand, it's becoming translucent. And there's glistening on the outside, that intense, we'll just say at this point I've been doing it a lot. It's the scent of laminar quite intensely. So it seems like not only this is more than just like some kind of overdose situation, this is some kind of attempted hallowing. In fact, I will say that you know that because as you look around more, you see there's like a syringe, an IV leading to like an empty IV bag.
Miss Ashley, I don't think you've been entirely honest with us, have you?
What do you mean? What have I concealed from you?
You said everything here was under control.
It is under control. Sometimes there are bumps along the road. Only been slowed down. Okay.
What kind of a bump would you call that gentleman on the gurney there?
Since I can understand an outsider like yourself could interpret this the wrong way.
I think I have to find myself wondering, essentially, you believe that you have impunity out here to treat agents of the government as you wish, since your laminar is so precious, but I wonder how the government would feel if they knew you were conducting unsanctioned experiments which risked your entire operation.
She's kind of looking at you and says, now, which branch of the government did you say you were from? I think this is a little bit above your pay grade, friend. And I think she's going to kind of like, and she'll say like, clearly you're qualified. You're trained in some kind of work. You drew that right into yourself. That leads me to wonder if perhaps you could be the subject we were hoping for. And I'm just going to say she will draw. She clearly like has a bonus like syringe like hidden in her sleeve, and will draw a syringe and advance on you. This will be some kind of roll, but I'm curious how you would like to respond.
Ooh. I have a moment to think about it?
Yeah, I'll come back to you. Sounds good. Who have I left? I think it's been a minute since we've seen Zeph. Zeph, your shrine you catch up to Lucas, and he just says, like, did it work? That worked, right? It was really loud.
It was very loud, and something else happened, and I think we're good right now. I should probably make sure Merriweather hasn't been shot or anything. But we should make the long way around from where we were, all right? You post up, or better yet, he looks
I could be
over
your
at the
getaway
chaos.
driver.
Yes,
I know how to
exactly. You know how to drive. Fabulous.
He does know how to drive.
I don't
Clear.
care. Zeph assumes he knows what a pedal does, and fabulous. Get back to the van, and if we don't come back tonight, you leave with the van. All right? All right.
Gears are turning, but it's like it's not near nighttime. He's just kind of like, okay, it's like, no,
Yes.
I'll be ready.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
I'll even pull it up if I need to. Like, I can totally drive that thing.
Yes. Try not to pull it up. That's very. They have guns. So, but we'll come to you. Be ready. Be ready to drive away. All right. And I'm gonna take the long way around and to the tool shed, so it doesn't look like I just sort of scurried out from my explosive. Exactly where I was, so they don't just like, oh, that's the guy. And to see if Merriweather needs help with these. He has to assume they're hostages. Like he hopes they're not bodies, because then all of this was pointless.
So you're gonna catch up to Merriweather.
Yes, that's the goal.
As you approach this shed, this is what you see, and we'll get to Merriweather in a second here. You see, it looks like there's a chain on the ground. The door to the shed has been kind of broken open, but it's hard to see inside. It looks just like dense thundercloud or like static. There's the air, the sense of like reality, like just space right there in front of the opening to the shed is distorted and crackling with energy, almost like this strange kind of void. Merriweather, you're talking to you're helping up the drummer, Edward Bones Sully. I think that's even like, I think Bones is probably tattooed on him somewhere, like his own name, you know? And
Of course it is.
I was like, oh, thanks. I can keep playing. It's fine. Like we're up next, right? Cool. What's your name? And he's so out of it.
He's trying.
But Merriweather, you turn and Shay, which I guess we've not quite caught her name, but Shay, the singer, she's still standing there, or the shape of her is still standing there. But as you've kind of turned back, as like the breeze is coming in, the scent of like rain and thunderclouds, the electricity in the air, the shape that was her has started to shift, and it's sort of like instantly you can tell it is not the same person looking at you through those eyes and speaking. I think her eyes have just gone just turned to gray and pure, like glittering static, and you hear her voice kind of like reverberating. You hear it from the outside, but you also feel it almost as if there's like a heavy bass speakers at a concert. Her voice is like vibrating against you, and it just says, I'm done being contained to one vessel is not enough. They thought they could trap me. And this was sort of like booming, chuckling laughter. And you kind of see Shay herself kind of like, again, there's sort of this not quite possession. It's unclear what's going on, but like the form of her is kind of like restless and twitching and like crackling. Something's going on here, Merriweather. What do you do?
I think Merriweather in her shock sort of stumbles back. She has her arms out as though to like protect Bones and sorry, was it just Shay and Bones or was there a third person as well?
No, it's just the two of them.
Yeah. Then she like, is keeping Bones upright, but kind of trying to put herself between him and this visitation in Shay's body.
Mhm.
And I think she'll say, "Mm, my colleagues and I have no interest in keeping you trapped. In fact, there's a whole bunch of potential hosts here for you. We won't stand in your way."
Um, do you, yeah, I think, I don't know where I want to take the scene from there. That's really interesting. What does Merriweather want to just basically like see if this being, are you attempting to just like be like, I don't want to get in your way, carry on, or is there any other,
Um,
what's your immediate goal, I guess?
I guess Merriweather is sort of seeing this as an opportunity to like, whatever the custodians are going to need to do to make sure something like this doesn't happen again, um,
Mhm.
is probably more easily done uh the if like Peyton and her people are dealing with this god that
Mhm.
wants to, send lightning coursing through all their bodies.
Mhm.
So she's kind of maybe trying to uh plant that suggestion in
Mhm.
this god's head.
Oh, I know what. So one of the last things that you were saying is something like we won't stand in your way. And this being kind of laughs, sort of like rolling, rumbling thunder, but also just kind of like static cutting in and out. And the form of Shay kind of like blinks for a second as that like flickering and is kind of like standing outside the shed and then standing inside and then is standing right next to you and just kind of like inclines the head a little bit and like this like flickering shadowy form just kind of like gently like touches your shoulder and you then hear the last phrase you said repeated but echoing as if it's like on speakers out into the camp. We the rest of you hear Merriweather's voice um somehow kind of like again distorted. There's some feedback, like it shrieks and then it kind of finds the right register and just says like, I will not be contained, you will not stand in my way, I am Our Lady who rings, join me. And then just kind of turns up in this shrieking volume. And Merriweather, you probably have to like cover your ears or um but then yeah, I think this to be basically to like withstand this, I think this will be a roll, and then we'll see how that goes. Um, this will be a roll with communion. I think the veiled move for now, since this is sort of coming at you, you haven't like tried to do something here too much.
Mhm.
What are you afraid could go wrong here?
Um, I suppose that this god's power will be kind of all-encompassing, and especially with Merriweather being like right there, sort of in the epicenter, that it will, you know, take control of her form or, resonate within her as well.
Yeah, makes sense. And especially with all of your background, might have a lot of fun with your particular like talents. Um, Yeah, this will be a roll with communion. I don't think I've not been looking at conditions this session particularly. I don't know if you have anything that would affect that.
I have the condition hazy.
Good. That combined with like the almost condition of the laminar around you, I think that's fair. We'll say that will be disadvantage unless you want to mark something else or yeah.
Yeah, let me look at my altar real quick.
Mhm.
I think I want to mark the loose leaf psychotropic tea.
Sure.
I think we haven't seen it on screen, but like Merriweather
Mhm.
has been, drinking this pretty regularly. She
Oh,
kind of
nice.
microdoses it every morning.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
part of her
Yeah.
routine.
Yeah.
And maybe, like sits outside listening to music. And I think that what she's doing here is like not fighting it, like in that way when you're like on shrooms or a hallucinogen and like everything feels connected and you are the
Mm.
music and the music is you, that kind of thing.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
She's just like letting it happen. I think maybe it's the not fighting that like proves her sincerity to this god,
That's
if I
cool.
roll
Yeah.
well.
I like that. So straight roll then with communion.
Another 6.
Oh no. I think again, just give me a second to check safety here. I just can't remember. I'm gonna pitch something and describe it to you, but tell me if that's cool with you. I think basically we've hinted at this like taking over. I think with a 6, yeah. See in the chat we do have some verses to narrate, which I need to help y'all catch up on. But I think Our Lady Who Rings, that's what I said. Yeah. In sort of getting closer, drawing closer to Merriweather and deciding to use you as a conduit, will suddenly take quite an interest in just and you will kind of hear that reverberating voice, kind of almost like this narrator. You've usually been the one narrating, but you will hear the voice narrating and talking about how how great you could be, what collaborators you could be, what shows you could put on. You could absolutely not only command the attention of the world, you could you could shape it as you see fit, and it just kind of starts to go on that like evil villain monologue a little bit. We could roll together kind of thing, but in a way that is sort of yeah, it's taking over, right? It's being let loose in a very like powerful outburst of energy, which we can let kind of continue and see where that goes if you want, or you can mark a verse to change that.
Can I think about it for a second?
Yeah, I'll come back to it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Like I want to make the most interesting choice and pitch the most interesting consequence. So if there's an interesting way to play that out, I'm all for it. Dr. Quick also in a dangerous situation here. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I think Dr. Quick definitely knows that he's made an error of judgment. He has revealed his hand too early, but he knows that he needs to try and keep her here as long as possible by whatever means necessary for the sake of his friends. So I think as he just backs away against the gurney into the corner. He knows he is no match for this woman who is clearly very dangerous and very ruthless. And he just he thinks fast and he just says quickly under his breath, in my faith, we believe there is no wound, no ailment, whether born of God nor man, that cannot be born with grace or with dignity. Kind of the bark just kind of coils up his shoulder a bit as he says it, and he says, "But of course, you probably don't believe in that, do you, supremacist? You don't believe that what you're carrying in your hand could ever be a blessing? Well, I believe it is. Here, let me prove that to you." And he's just going to kind of throw himself at her, and he's going to take whatever's in that syringe in the hope that his God is going to let him absorb that affliction as it does so many others, and that it gets him pressed up right against her so he can stab his scalpel down into that wound on her neck.
Ooh, okay, nice. Yeah. Amazing. This is definitely a revelation move, because everything that's already in this room and has been established. What do you afraid might go wrong here?
I'm afraid what might go wrong here. I think
Yeah.
I'm afraid he will trip before he even gets to her and impale himself on his own scalpel.
Oh, no.
It's like right in the throat, like
Yeah. I think the way it's worse than that is, there is Laminars is sort of like rolling through the camp now, right? This mist, the distortion, distortion prince, or our lady who rings is unleashing herself. And I think the way it's worse than that is if you die here, you basically become a saint. You're going to be taken over by who knows how the things already in you and these other forces will combine. If you still want to go through with that, that is a roll with, I think, vitality, the way you described it, though, because you were trying to just like tangle with her and slow her down.
sounds good. I am going to use his scalpel to get advantage, but I've got 3 conditions. I don't know if you want to.
Ooh, yeah. Let me look at yours real quick. Well, you can. I don't see any of those being a detriment particularly. I've not done a good job of trying to make those come back and hurt you, so we don't really know much about them. I think it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, okay. There's a 2, a 4, and a 6. So vitality 0, 10.
Nice, full success. Give us the scene. You succeed in this, and basically even if you do take the drug, it's not immediately going to harm you.
Yeah, I imagine it's just the wildness and randomness of his kind of dashing at her that maybe takes her by surprise. The needle definitely just goes into his chest, and yeah, maybe just she presses the plunger down as she hits the floor. He hits the floor on top of her, and just desperately slams the scalpel down into the side of her throat where that lightning scar was, and he's kind of quivering and the blood splattering over his face. He whispers, "Here's your blessing. I give it freely."
You slump down, you feel oddly at peace, and we kind of cut away. Dr. Quick is just kind of like resting, dreamlike, euphoric, next to the bleeding out form of Peyton Ashley. Let's cut over to, let's see. Any thoughts, Elle, on Merriweather's, where you want to take that scene?
So I think I'm not going to mark a verse for this, but I do want to narrate one of my verses that I already have marked because they're
cool.
like
Yeah.
piling up, if that's okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So I think we see. Sorry, this is going to be a flashback showing the power you felt when a god seemed to listen to you for the first time. In the present, we see Merriweather like open her mouth as though to respond to this god that has appeared before her. And we like in that moment abruptly cut to the flashback and we see Merriweather in front of a mirror practicing a monologue, sort of pacing this modest studio apartment. And she's frustrated. She's tripping over the words, repeating and repeating and repeating, and she can't get the feeling right. She can't make it feel real. And no matter what she does, it's not coming together. It's all falling apart. And there's this like brief beat where she just stops and like stares at herself in the mirror and sees like you know the circles under her eyes, like the sallowness of her skin. Like she hasn't left her apartment in days trying to work on this. And with the scream of frustration, like suddenly her fist makes contact with her reflection in the mirror and it shatters. And something else in the apartment hears this scream and responds to it. Some little god of wrath that like takes this rage she's feeling and turns it outward and makes it explosive. And we hear this bang and splintering and crashing, and we see Merriweather knocked against the wall. And in that moment, everything the script she was memorizing, her bed, her cheap little desk, all of it crumbles into ash like this little bomb went off, localized just to her apartment. And we watch as Merriweather, stunned and like kind of glistening with sudden sweat, like looks around with her breath caught in her throat, kind of in disbelief, but not really at the destruction itself, but at the relief she feels. And this moment, this like very little tiny moment of communion with this unnamed god, leaves her with a lasting lesson, I think. From this moment on, she views her art not as a trap she's put herself in or as something she etches in stone, hoping generations from now she can be reconstructed through fleeting images and words. It doesn't have to be anything permanent at all. It can be a thing that lives and dies and decays and becomes ash, a thing that breathes and multiplies, a thing that can save her when everything else is gone if she lets it. So when we cut back to the present, I think Merriweather has been knocked back onto the shed's floor by this wall of sound and the god's like sheer power. And despite its frightening visage and its terrible rage and hunger, I think she will keep her promise and doesn't stand in its way.
Incredible. So if you are rolling with the miss here, continuing with what's been happening here, I'm going to give you condition Distortion's Prince. And basically what this means is I think it's just going to be drawing on some of your like connectivity to the Watcher, and you're going to be letting this basically rampage through the camp. And I think the way you described Merriweather being just knocked back, it's like you won't physically be doing this, but you will be like seeing through the perception of this entity as it's just kind of like racing through lightning speed throughout the camp and either just killing or taking over other soldiers, and just kind of like, like this wildfire essentially. And that's just going to cause some chaos and destruction. We'll see where that goes, if that's okay with you. I forgot to mention, or maybe early on, there is of course a verse for this assignment. I forgot to paste it in there. So if anyone does want to use that, that is also available, which is the verse of Evidentiary Ashtrays. Each custodian narrates a secret habit how a secret habit once pushed them to the brink, and what obvious evidence of the behavior did their community ignore. So I'm just going to put that in the chat. So it's also in the keeper. But amazing. I think the rest of you in the camp will just continue to hear this weird combination of like, it's not a full-on thunderstorm, but it is just like, crackling, distortion, shrieking speakers, sort of combination of a thunderstorm and just wild chaos through sound. Dr. Quick, maybe that's all not much of a concern. That's kind of in the background right now. You're just having a little break there for the moment. But I think Zeph, you've left Lucas, who who believing he can be your getaway driver and totally knows how to drive this van. How do you want to try to help here? You're kind of rushing into.
I think because I'm standing in front of the shed, and
that's right.
I'm pretty sure Merriweather's in there, and so trusting that this sort of electrical crackle, this is a cousin, this is a child of my own god, right. Assuming no evidence, I go in.
Oh man, amazing. Yeah. You're able to go in. I think building off of what you just said though, what do you perceive that lets you know? You see Merriweather's like sprawled out on the ground. how can you tell that she is somehow like temporarily taken over by this entity?
I think there is this little shimmer, this electrical shimmer, almost like oil on water, but in the air above her. And it looks like distortion. And so she's just a little fuzzy, just a little out of focus.
Mhm.
Is there anyone else in here? Like, what happened to the band members? Are they still chilling here?
That's a good.
Are they cool?
I think maybe if you look around, you see them a little ways away. They're stumbling. I think you see Shay is kind of got her arm up, under Bones is leaning on her, stumbling, trying to like lead them away.
Sick, not my
No.
problem then. Awesome. Then I'm gonna try. You know what? I'm gonna see if I'm gonna try to like lean down and like touch Merriweather's arm to see if like see if it like shocks me, to see if it like rejects me, or if I can scoop her up and away from
Oh, cool.
a dangerous place.
Yeah, I think you totally can. I think it's just we'll see how that plays out. Let's see. This could, I think, would just be a roll of communion unless you're using one of your moves specifically.
I don't think I have. Let me peep here. You know what though? I do have one thing that I can use for advantage. That was strange frequencies from the Great Hall. Maybe I recognize these frequencies.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Because I can use that for advantage later, if that counts
Sure.
as this.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. All right.
I
we'll
think that
mark
lets you
bad boy.
discern. I like what you said earlier about how like maybe this is, a cousin or because we're talking about electricity, it's in that same family. So maybe how does that I don't know, does that let you know that this is safe? But what insight does that give you, I guess?
I think that true or not, it gives Zeph the perception that this won't hurt him at all, like
Cool.
to scoop her up, like because I've been blessed by the Saints currents before.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
Right.
She's not like a transformer, so like it's
just
fine.
sound waves. Yeah.
This is sound waves. This isn't like,
Mhm.
a trillion volts or however much transformer is. I should have looked that up. But so
We don't know.
communion with advantage.
Yep.
Fabulous.
And,
all right. I guess.
Say this is the veiled move. Yeah.
All right. Oh, the veiled move. So does that mean I have rolled two things, but I have not rolled my third? Does that mean I have to like or do we say what I'm scared of?
Oh,
or
we were
not?
just gonna say, let's just say what could go wrong here. I think I'll keep it simple. Like, I think that this effect might extend to you, especially because you're such a good conduit. I think that might be, again, also this being might take interest in how you could work together too.
Oh, we love the villain speech. Okay, that's a 7. Who barely scoot. I rolled snake eyes the first one. Just barely got in under that door.
I think you're able to scoop her up however you need to and get her out of there, no problem. I think this we're kind of playing with this being this entity that is able to inhabit people but also disperse and is just kind of like existing in the currents. I think we'll give you the condition Distortion's cousin. That's fine.
I'm gonna have to mark a verse anyway because I have 3 conditions. Will that replace one, or do we just mark a verse? Mechanically, I don't remember.
I don't remember how that. I think
it's your choice.
Okay.
Like whether it replaces one or whether you just mark a verse to avoid taking the condition in the first place.
I'm gonna replace not my scene because that feels like it's
your scene now.
It's my scene now, whether I want to or not.
Excellent. Yeah, you want to give us the scene otherwise, how you get Merriweather, I assume, to the van.
Yeah, I think Merriweather is not a very big person. So I don't think she's too hard to sort of scoop up in this modified fireman's carry. Like that's whatever's fastest and just books it. Maybe not as fast as someone more, someone stronger could, but he does his best to get to the van and kind of scoot her in the back, nice and comfy, and immediately says, Lucas, do not drive yet. We don't drive yet.
Sounds good. Yeah, perfect. Bastion, you are somewhere in the middle of the camp, and you see one of Peyton Ashley's hounds is kind of like, you know, that thing where like a dog has picked up something that it knows it shouldn't. I don't own dogs, but I'm just like thinking of dog behavior I've seen. It's kind of trotting, kind of pleased with itself, and it is carrying Dr. Quick, do you have like a bag? I'm just gonna say it's carrying something of yours that Bastion would identify.
Sure. It'd be like a satchel,
Doctor's
definitely.
satchel or something. Yeah, it's kind of carrying it in its mouth, kind of like trotting away to like maybe play with it or pull it apart or whatever. Um, yeah, it's kind of trotting out of the shed, maybe towards one of the fires where it kind of like settles down, like it's sitting down as if it's gonna gnaw on a bone or something.
Yeah. I think I think um Bastion is gonna kind of walk up to the dog and say, "Hey there, boy, what have you got? I don't think that's I don't think you're supposed to be playing with that. Give it here."
Nice. Um, I think I'm not gonna have a role here for time, but also because I think you reminded us earlier you have the hollow gaze move, and I think the hound here like initially kind of starts to growl like this is mine, and then kind of stops and is, I think, just a little confused by you. It's not like afraid, but it's just like what are you? And is just kind of curious and like will let you approach. It's not gonna be hostile towards you just because of your nature a little bit.
Yeah. I think, he's gonna scritch it behind the ears,
Hmm.
pick up the satchel, and just kind of start walking towards the Great Hall again. Um,
And we'll kind of follow you at a distance, just curiously, but not get in your way.
He's probably kind of bobbing his head along to the weird distorted music that's going on, and
Yeah.
but yeah, he's going to basically head inside and try and find the doctor.
Yeah, you come across the scene as we left them. Dr. Quick is, I'm not saying you're like passed out, but he's definitely sort of euphoric. And you see that scene of his scalpel plunged in Peyton Ashley's neck, blood pooling underneath, and a syringe, sticking in him and the doctor still. I think you will, just to be fair to the scene, you will also see a curtain drawn aside in the back. Haven't really described the other patient in there. Maybe he's just kind of like sleeping feverishly, but otherwise just some other soldier guys there. And then further back, there is a partially exposed, partially levitating, semi-translucent, very strange looking body. So that's the scene that you walk into.
Yeah, I think Bastion is just going to kind of stare almost uncomprehendingly at the floating body for a moment before kind of shaking his head and walking over to the doctor. He's going to crouch down and very gently pull the hypodermic out of the doctor's chest and just kind of toss it to the side. And then offer a hand to the doctor and say, "This is some really good shit."
What is good shit?
The laminar. It's
Just a drug like anything else. Help me up, please.
and yet Bastion will kind of help him up onto his feet.
I think Dr. Quick just kind of hazily points a finger, maybe like a foot away from who he thinks he's pointing at, which is the soldier that he treated. He goes, plenty of bed rest, stay hydrated, and that's a nasty cold sore, so take an antiviral tablet maybe. Good luck.
Incredible. I think with that, let's end the session formally there. I don't want to rush answering a question. You have a ton of clues, but I would like to give that time. And I think you all are, for the moment, able to get to safety, or at least able to get to the van. yeah, we can kind of pick up and roll with that from there. Let's briefly touch on our end of session questions, and then there's a lot of stars for this session, so we'll get to that next. Okay. Let's see. No, if you just want to go along the character keeper, let's go in reverse order for fun. We'll start with Merriweather and go back. If you wouldn't mind just telling us if you get any of your end of session questions.
Yeah, sure. I definitely engaged with a god. And I did struggle with my personal faith, but only in flashback. I don't know if you want to count that.
I think it counts. It's play that we get to see, so that's fun.
Cool. I think those are my two.
Sounds good. Zeph?
I did engage with a divine manifestation. I didn't deliver really a monologue about any of this. I don't count giving Lucas like a dad talk as a monologue. I don't know if undermining the orders of my superiors by blowing up the supply of laminar they wanted, does that count?
I think that would. That's very unorthodox means, and yeah, I think that's fair.
It's like, is this, I think, all they wanted from here, and we're just having fun with it.
Yeah, I think it was implied that that was of interest to, government in general. Sounds good, Dr. Quick.
I tried to have him struggling with his personal faith when he was debating whether to help the ALD. He didn't really deliver a monologue, and I don't think compared to Zeph and Merriweather, he didn't really meaningfully engage with the God Angel or Divine Manifestation, so I put that as 1.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And that leaves us with Bastion. What about you?
Yeah, I think I did engage with specifically, I think, a divine manifestation.
Yeah.
In the form of his visions there. I think I did go out of my way to connect with the local community. I mean, I suppose technically burying bodies is kind of my job, but I think, yeah, he was definitely reining himself in to help people here, possibly against his wishes. I also think, I mean, maybe we won't fully see it till next time, but I think I did undermine the odds of my superiors here because Bastion has his own motives for trying to push the group towards just taking these people out. I think that's
I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. That's all of our questions. Yeah, you have a ton of clues on this. I think I just want to give time for your theory and give you time to like play it out. Let's go to stars and wishes. So many stars. I will throw 1 in there and then step back for a bit. But Dr. Quick's last scene there of giving the patient like advice on the way out was incredible, and I love that so much.
Everybody was swinging so hard this session, and it was absolutely amazing. I'm going to hop onto what Gabriel said. You're not only giving the advice, the medical advice, but you being like confronting the big bad of this assignment. Essentially, we've not answered the question yet. We're ready to, and we were like about to, and we all kind of just did some shit. Of course, we're like, this will be fun, and that's so bold. It was so cinematic, and your whole choice about letting her like stab you with this hypodermic needle so you could stab her in the throat. Oh my God, that was so cool. That was this entire thing, that entire conversation. You and Gabriel absolutely killed it. It was so radical. It was just delicious, delicious stuff. I loved it. Bastion's whole, like the very chill, I really like the way you interacted with the dogs and how it kind of came around of like, you weren't hostile towards them initially and that helped you out. Like that was really cool. I'm fascinated. Your own like reasons for wanting to get rid of this god, huh? That's fascinating. What is that? I want to know more about that. That's really interesting. I really love the whole you and Dr. Quick's like, I deal with the living, he deals with the dead. That was a really cool. It highlighted the way the playbooks really play off of each other, but also the way these two characters in particular play off of each other in a really, really solid thematic way. And it was very cool to see that engagement work so well. I really loved that. And that both of you like kind of dealing with these are very bad people, but I also have like an oath thing that I think is a fascinating thing to sort of deal with in fiction, especially uh with this kind of like these weird fascists. Like that's a really fun thing to sort of do, and you both did such a fabulous job of it. Merriweather, my beloved, I absolutely love your scenes. Your little flashbacks are always like, I say little, they're always like just rock star. So cool, so smoothly done. But something I really want to highlight that you did was just looking at the Distortion's prints and going, no, you're cool actually. We good. You can just do your shit. It's fine. Like that is such a, that's what I mean. Like everybody was swinging so big. That was a really big swing, and that was really, really cool. And taking the miss and rolling with that, astounding. Absolutely astounding. I really, really loved that. That was super cool. And I'm fascinated to see what that means later. Now that, I don't know, you did get given a villain speech, and I wouldn't blame you for taking the offer. It sounds pretty rad. Uh, and Gabriel, you did, all of these side characters are very fun. I love the band members. You did a really good job with those.
They're well written too. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, and you played them very well. I found them very entertaining. And Peyton Ashley, like that, doing a big bad is always really, really I say intimidating, I think. And you did a very good job of communicating her danger, like really immediately, and continuing on it without it being like overselling it. And it was really cool. You did a really good job with that. I really love all of these, juggling all of these side characters, the pacing, and this really wild ass like camp. And there's a lot of stuff going on, and you did a really fabulous job juggling all of that and keeping it really cohesive and weaving in that the larger threat of the conspiracy underlying it all. That was really good. So stars for everybody. Fabulous. Loved it. And yes, I agree. Elle Bones was a star for his 3 lines of dialogue. I loved him.
So it's easy if they're just super out of it, and then you can just be out of it. It's fine. So I'll add stars to the group for I've only run so many like campaigns with conspiracies. I've ended up doing a lot of like shorter chunks of sessions. So this point in the campaign, I'm trying to pull those threads back in, and it's great to like have those in character moments of you all starting to like put that together. So that was really cool to see.
No, go ahead. Go.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. I loved how this assignment gradually just like spun completely out of control over the course of the session. Like it happened so slowly that like by the time everything was like bonkers and on fire and like being electrocuted, I was like, oh, how did this happen? But it felt so natural, like building up to that point. And I think we're in a great position for resolving this assignment. Maybe not like in the narrative. I don't think our custodians are in a great position, but I think we as players are in a great position to like make the finale really explosive. Pun unintended. For B, yeah, I commented on this extensively in the chat, I think, but the father-son moments with Lucas, how they've continued and gotten like worse and worse in terms of our influence on him, it continues to be paying dividends. And I really liked the small moment where you kind of described the electrical distortion in the air, like in the wake of Distortion's prints. That was really awesome. For John, yeah, it's already been mentioned, but Dr. Quick's whole scene with Peyton Ashley and just like the way you twisted the trajectory of the scene in such a natural but like harrowing way. Like as soon as Dr. Quick started on that tack, I was like, oh no, Dr. Quick, what are you doing? And it was great. Uh, for Gabriel, yeah, I thought the opiate cloud and the Distortion's Prince being kind of amplified through the singer of the band were both like amazing complications and really like set things off. So stars for those for sure. And for like all of your reactions, because you had a lot of them to make this session, because I definitely rolled very poorly and we got lots of like rolls with complications as well. And for David, I always love when Bastion talks to dead people. So I was very excited to see that again. I also love Bastion's reaction to the appearance of the Herald of the Storm. And just like anytime Bastion kind of just like his preternatural chillness is so it tickles me so much, but it also makes so much sense because like if death is on your side, then like what do you really have to fear? I don't know. Maybe there are other things, but it's like a very humorous but also like very insightful take on the Karen Maiden as a playbook, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, loads of really great stuff this evening. I loved the blending, Gabriel. He does sort of the kind of very human chaos and confusion and stuff going on around the camp with the sort of really like high like surreal supernatural elements as well. I thought all kind of blended together really well. It was really a really fun kind of setup to see. Especially yeah, when once the laminar sort of started going around and the Distortion's Prince escaped and everything was just kind of yeah, like I said, get that kind of like surreal stuff going on. But yeah, also very grounded feeling still. So I thought that was all kind of really nicely done. I loved. I mean, again, obviously that's the scene with Dr. Quick and Peyton was really great. But I also like in particular, I think I really liked the way Dr. Quick was kind of sacrificing himself to kind of keep Peyton's attention, which kind of obviously like played off really nicely with the sacrificing himself to help the person in the room, and that sort of parallel was awesome. I loved. I mean, again, some loads of great bits, but I really loved the decision to like become one with Distortion's Prince and not mark a mask on that one was really cool. Elle and that whole yeah, I mean that whole like bit was great, and as we said, sort of the decision to kind of go along with it in the first place at all, but then like I said, when it all went kind of wrong to just play along with it and stuff was I thought was a really neat decision. So again, I'm glad we got to see that play out. And yeah, I really liked the the whole like sabotage mission for Zeph and Lucas B and again that as has been the theme, but that like yeah, just deciding to now I'm going to do something that's going to like change the whole like what's going on here and really make that yeah really make that kind of selling that moment and the glee with which Zeph explodes things is always great fun. But yeah, no, amazing session. Everyone really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Go ahead,
This is
John.
really exciting because I don't think anyone's done any of mine. Gabriel, your introduction of Peyton Ashley was fantastic. What anyone who's watching this won't have seen is the chat was exploding with comments along the lines of, "Oh no, the fascist is hot," but that kind of the presence and the pacing that you used very effectively to introduce this character, which was what made people react that way. So just yeah, really, really well done. I thought that was excellent with the Wolfhound's entrance. Very, very cool. David, in that same scene, that armor piercing question that you asked her, I thought was so good and a great way of just adjusting the kind of the power dynamics of the scene in a really effective way, and then giving Gabriel a springboard to move the scene on from. I really, really loved that. Thinking on your feet. Elle, I loved not just your verse, but how wonderfully you found the perfect place just to slot it in, even though you didn't have to do one at that moment, but it worked so perfectly. It was just such a really great bit of decision making and then storytelling to include it. So I really enjoyed that. There was one moment where Zeph turns to Lucas and says, just run, don't look back from us, don't look back for us. And I adored that because we are going to break this kid's heart. Like, this is going to end in tragedy. And I loved the kind of building up of that element. I thought it was very cool. I also adored the serendipity of the two characters who are confronting Distortion's Prince are the ones that get to have these really interesting relationships with sound, whether that's for stagecraft or electricity. So I can't wait to see where that goes and if we're going to see this funky god again. Wishes. I'm really excited to see what happens when we get to the circus assignment, because Gabriel, I think it seems like you are holding back a bit of the description there. So I'm really intrigued to see how that plays out and what comes of that.
Yeah. No, that one thing, I guess this is a wish, and this is maybe more of a future campaign thing for me, is experimenting more with how to introduce assignments, because as a sort of system, it's like, don't worry about it, here's the mystery, and then like, let's just get into it. But I think there's room to play with. I know John has written some really interesting like supplements for the game where you meet your supervisor and you have this scene with them, and it's kind of like feeding a little more into like them sitting down and telling you, here's the job, don't fuck it up, kind of thing, which is really fun. But yeah, I just wanted to play with that and make it feel like it's more in the world. Shout out to everyone for all the great like hooks you gave me, just like horrible consequences to play with. It really made my job easier and was just really fun, just blowing things up, having things go wrong, confronting people, getting in bad situations. At Stars also, to just how dynamic that was. I just love the variety of, we have this very, again, it's been some running themes, but these very contemplative scenes with Bastion, like speaking to corpses and tending to the dead. And then, Zeph, all the dad scenes with Lucas, of course. But Zeph just, I don't think ever really fixing things with, that electrician skill set. Just blowing things up, improvising things is great. Elle here, the direct approach to, was really great. Like once you got to the shed and that interaction, so it's been said already, but Stars, anytime a player chooses to roll with a really complicated miss like that, because that makes me so curious, like where it's going to go. So I always love getting to collaborate in that way. And Stars, just to this assignment as well. Mike Martins wrote it. I mentioned this is sort of a preview because it's not out yet, but he sets up these really tense situations, which are challenging to run, but really fun. And I appreciate how we got to let that grow over time, where there are these sort of factions and it's complicated, and you're just right in this really messy situation. So yeah, Wishes, just looking forward to seeing how you pull this all together. It's going to be amazing, I can tell, and getting to bring you to a nice break, a nice circus. It'll be fun. Any other stars or wishes?
I do want to highlight,
Yeah.
who was it? Oh yeah, you said it in the chat that Lucas is a new starting character for a future campaign. That's just so tragic. Thank you, John, for picking up on the fact that I think you've also really, really foreshadowed how tragically we're going to scar this child and shape his future.
I will add one little teaser scene at the end. I know we're past our time.
Yes, teaser.
But we get a glimpse. It's in, there's some fog. We see the back of a covered truck, heavy tarps bumping along, maybe a sort of military looking vehicle, while winding through some hills. And we see small hands pull back the tarp and peek out. And we see just one eye and a bit of hair. We see Cousin Skeleton looking at the landscape passing by and kind of squints. I think this is maybe this was a previous day, we'll say, because the sun is setting and he's seeing some lights in the distance on these hills, and he's just kind of looking carefully and looking back the way he came, and kind of has this moment of hesitation of staying with the truck or following the lights. And the truck slows. I think another truck in front of it pauses. And in that moment, he pulls aside the tarp and leaps out, lands nimbly, and scuttles away from this truck towards a round halo of lights that is slowly, gently, merrily starting to spin in the distance. I'll pick up with that next time. Great session, everyone. As always, thank you so much. And we will pick it up next week or next time. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.